Guys get situated here. Anything you still doing?
No, I'm good. I'm just trying to get my Wi-Fi. I love the survey.
You ready, Suzanne?
Wow, getting rough over there.
A lot of stuff.
It's kind of.
Molly.
Got that kind of lowered. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Delta Township CIA board meeting. We're going to call the meeting to order at, I've got about 4:03, something like that. All right. Can we get a motion to call the meeting to order?
So moved.
You can just call it to order.
Just call to order? Awesome. All right, we'll do a roll call real quick. Vice Chair Tony McGolvey.
Here.
Scott Berman.
Here.
Kenneth Fletcher.
Here.
Calvin Jones.
Here.
See Laura Miller's not here. Rachel Elsinger. Here. And who did I miss? Everybody? Everybody? And myself, Peggy. All right, awesome. All right, motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, approved. Public comment, anybody? All right, let's move on to approval of the minutes from the May 18th. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion to approve? Everybody? Okay. Yes. All right.
Yes.
All right, old business. Let's go talk to Mr. Peter over here.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back. Okay, so there's a memo in your packet. So first thing, we have Suzanne with us this afternoon, which we very much appreciate.
Welcome back.
And welcome her warmly. I'll just kick it off by saying there's a memo in the, well, preceding this memo in the packet, I had sent an updated link to the revised survey that Suzanne's team had completed. I don't know what that is. It's not me. There's beeping. And so hopefully you've had some time to check that out, digest it, think about it, prepare some comments. And so that's part of today's meeting. We need to get through that and get your feedback on that. And then also there was a request at the last meeting for a tentative timetable. So you can see in the memo in the packet is my take on that. And it's pretty aggressive. So it's assuming that we're going to move forward, but it's not a particularly complicated survey. So I don't really see that being problematic. But if all goes well today, even if you have some changes, we could get those to Suzanne's team, make the changes, and be ready next week to send this thing out, publish it on our social media channels, all that kind of thing. And if we are going to do any physical materials, which we'll talk to, we can get those things ordered and moving. And then basically through the rest of June, work on getting it out, getting it in front of people, either physically distributed or digitally distributed. And then we'll have all of July for the, if not a couple of weeks in June, plus all of July for the survey to be out in the public, and we can work on different ways to kind of refresh that in people's minds through boosting posts and all that kind of thing. I'll admit, I am not a social media person, so I speak in very vague terms when we talk about that kind of thing, but rest assured that there are people that can do it that are not me. And then so that, yeah, that gives a lot of time for the survey. And then hopefully we can come back in August and have the results. And from there, the way I'm seeing things kind of develop, and hopefully at that point, you'll have some input from the community and we'll be able to kind of synthesize like where some direction and project prioritization and really be able to nail a path forward in terms of some of the planning efforts that we talked about at the last meeting, whether we get into corridor planning or master planning and how you engage with the planning commission to kind of establish your vision and how that gets carried out. Obviously, a lot of questions there, but I think we're in the ballpark and have the right kind of time frame to accomplish it. So that being said. Suzanne, do you have anything you want to share on the survey, or do you want to walk them through kind of the current draft?
Yeah, we can do that. Has everybody taken the survey? Do you want to take the survey?
I haven't taken it, but I read.
I read it.
You can take it. You have your phone,
Oh.
hold it up to the QR code.
I haven't.
So you can actually take it and do live, we can see
Yeah,
the
and
results
I'll
live,
pull it
right?
up live. I'll let you know. I'll pull up the QR code.
Doesn't have enough pictures. You're gonna have to read.
Do you put on your camera? Yeah, you're on your camera? It's like you're gonna take a picture. Then when you point it at there, there's gonna be a thing that pops up, and all you have to do is press it when it comes up.
Okay.
Suzanne, when I get to number 6, should be 1 through 5. When I click it, it doesn't do number 1 until the second choices. I have to have 2 things highlighted. And so as long as in one number 1, 2, 3, 4, then one doesn't have a number.
Let me look. On question number 5,
6
6.
on my broken phone. So if I had hit them all, and I do this.
The house safety feel in the
1,
corner.
2, 3, 4, and not 5. Should be 1 through 5.
Is there some sub questions under there?
It's a ranking one.
Yeah.
Is anybody else having that issue?
Work condition.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. For the modes.
It should be 1 through 5, and it won't let me rank. So let me click them all, but it only goes 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, mine did 5.
Mine did too.
I don't know.
That's weird.
I did 1 through 5. Try to click one and click it off. I had to click one off.
See if
Oh, it's
else
like you're
it.
missing.
Right,
Yeah.
isn't it weird? So maybe it's just my phone?
Oh, there it is.
No, 1, okay, so now it
So
works.
now you got 2 1s.
It's weird.
Yeah. Do it again. See what happens.
All right.
I must have got, yeah. Oh, for cheese sake. It doesn't. That's one thing about these darn, because if you don't get it all done, you.
Don't like.
Is it an Apple or is it what kind of phone do you have?
I have a Samsung, it's a 21 plus,
Huh,
Oh,
that's newer. I mean, not new, but
yeah,
newer.
it's weird. Probably is a tech question. Sometimes we can check the. It's stuck. Cancel. Can you get past it or are you stuck on that?
I'm just gonna,
Skip to that.
yeah, I'm gonna try, so I did it, but like, it don't let me do 1 through 4.
Huh,
See what happens.
okay.
So our bench is different than bus shelters, so these would be benches separate from our bus stops.
Correct.
Okay, just want to clarify. It is weird. Question 10 on mine's messed up now. I don't know if anybody else's is messed up.
Mine's working so far.
You can, that's if you want to add in additional.
Oh, you're supposed to just type in
Yeah,
your
that's
own thing.
right.
Okay, I got you. It's like it wasn't asking me anything.
So you can pass through that, but we might want to add additional like instruction on that.
Put some text on there.
That's after the items of importance, and it brings up the 2 blank ones if you want to add something in.
With the follow-up question, well, we can talk about it. Thinking you could take that, probably take it out.
I got through it. Didn't you get through it?
Pick me out.
You guys messing around with it?
I'm sure again, I do know. Oh, until it runs, okay. Oh, okay, fine.
Brian, what's the Wi-Fi in here? Is there-
I am Delta, all lowercase.
I am Delta, thank you. Now we're cooking with propane.
You done? And then Peggy. You
Yeah,
good?
I'm on the last one.
That's right, okay.
I think overall it was really good. We gave a lot of good, would give us a lot of good perspective. I was just wondering what the group thought about the overview. I thought it was great. Is there any value of adding a little bit of content on what we've been up to over the last 18 months or so? Just, or is that just, isn't, and maybe it's not needed. Just curious. But other than that,
I don't think it's needed.
I don't.
I think it hurt, but I don't think it's needed.
either, but I think it could be much information.
yeah, I can see that.
We could at the end,
Yeah.
suggest, direct them to the website. If that made
Oh, that's a
sense.
good idea.
We do.
Minutes, do we?
Let's just say for more information, yeah, we
You
have a
can put
link.
your
Oh,
email.
We have a link right to the CIA page.
Yeah. At least it shows them what,
Yeah, I wouldn't add anything else.
Okay.
that's a good idea.
Where did my meeting go? Hold on.
Is on there.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
It was a live link.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's a link on the last page. It's not live right now, but we can make sure it will be.
All right, so the results are. Business owner, resident, property owner, employee, and if IMA, travel to or through the corridor. 40% travel to, 60% travel both to and through. Yeah, you have driven, walked, used a bicycle and traveled by bus along Saginaw Highway. So everybody's driven, half of you have walked. I think 1 in 10 of the respondents has used a bicycle and 1 in 10 has used the bus.
Who's a brave person who drove their bike down Saginaw?
Probably somebody I cut off at the restaurant. It's going to be home.
So the car riders felt somewhat safe. One person's uncomfortable and two people felt very safe. Walking, somewhat safe, some uncomfortable, or very vulnerable. Biking, the one person felt uncomfortable.
Good call.
That's maybe unsurprising. The bus rider felt very safe. That's interesting. No wheelchair users. So kind of the turning movements and what you feel safe around, kind of just on your journey through the corridor. So most said left-hand turns when entering or exiting a business or side street. Somewhat safe or neutral were the more common answers. One on each end, very safe and very vulnerable. Making right-hand turns when entering or exit businesses, that seems like that's not an issue. You got 90% said either very safe or somewhat. Somewhat getting on or off the highway. Right, and then crossing, and then you can start to see for a pedestrian on foot, the uncomfortable or very vulnerable. So that's kind of the user experience. What would you like to use? Most people said if you couldn't use a car, be most interested in using in walking. Others 30% said I'm just going to drive. If you're gonna accommodate all different types of transportation, what's the most important? So ranking was car first, then bus, then pedestrians, and freight and bicycles. So this one will be interesting, I think, in particular to see from the community kind of what the experience is. And true, I mean, if you're a bus rider, at some point you're also a pedestrian, right? So you've got both. Speed, most of you think it's too fast. The one word response, I don't know why, I don't have a chart. There we go. Let's
What do you
see.
guys use to drive this? What's the program behind it, or is it yours?
Oh, this is Alchemer.
I'm sorry, say again.
It's called Alchemer.
Oh,
Don't know why I don't have a word cloud in here. Usually it does. Especially since I told it to.
it's probably because you have one of every,
It doesn't want to do it.
so it's.
I have
hard for it
people who can figure this out for me.
To get me dead.
I'll make sure that word cloud is working before we release it.
Beautiful. Those are
But
good.
words, busy, traffic, tired, busy, beautiful, busy, fast, busy, empty, business.
Skew it at purpose.
I think busy would be the biggest word if we had the word cloud working.
That's kind of interesting,
It
because
is.
kind of like half looked at it from I think a traffic standpoint versus half looked at the corridor holistically.
Yeah.
Yep.
it is interesting.
Yep. Ideal future state, multimodal, safe, vibrant, welcoming, attractive, desirable, inviting, safe again, full, and growth. Those are all great words. In fact, I can use those words on other things. We might go back to those words. How important are the items below to include the design of the highway corridor, Saginaw Highway Corridor? So you got very important or somewhat important. So I think most of them are leaning towards that. So I'll go to the exceptions. Less important, some people said trees, bike paths, pedestrian scaled lighting, benches, flower and plant displays, large green space between road and the sidewalk, art and placemaking elements were the ones that were kind of more on the not so important. So that's interesting. But you've got like landscape median, so maybe not on the outsides, but on the insides might be an option for green space too. So there's some design, starts to give us some design ideas. What land uses would you find most desirable? Fast food restaurants are less desirable or not desirable. The less desirable, it's interesting that town center had 2 votes for that. Housing, green space, offices are low, which we'd expect. attractions, mom and pops, and some people added. So these two at the bottom that you see with the dark squares were added. As you could fill in one. If there was one type of business that you could locate on the corridor, what would it be? A conference center, restaurant, more entertainment, more residential integrated throughout, convention center, second one there. Multi-purpose downtown, smaller non-chain restaurants. Any concerns about the corridor? Traffic. Doesn't look appealing. Some buildings need to be refreshed, lots of large empty parking lots. Increased mixed density, adding additional green space, speed, safety, walkability. Making sure that next project incorporates long-term improvements, keeping vibrant from end to end, traffic's too fast and left-hand turns are difficult. And yes. Yes, I have concerns. I'm not gonna tell you what they are. Please describe your vision for the corridor. What would you like it to be? Pedestrian friendly, mixed use spaces, safe, more attractive with traffic slowed and a good variety of restaurants, retail and entertainment. Dense mixed use space that offered a variety of housing, entertainment options and non-big box retail, less chains, walkable for all. Attractive, a dense destination for businesses, activities and living. More inviting, slower traffic, more non-chain restaurants, walkable and safe. Good examples. Some didn't know. So Detroit was listed. Explore that. Which part of Detroit would be? Tony, was that you?
No. Actually, it was not. This one.
Who responded Detroit? Just out of curiosity, what corridor were we thinking? Nobody did?
I
didn't put anything.
Oh, all right.
I couldn't think of a very specific one, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So did you think the information we've got is useful, that this kind of gives you a good sense?
I like it.
No, it's really good.
Okay, good. Third time's the charm. Perfect. No, it's good. That's what we're hoping for. We had a lot of discussion about kind of what will this give you? And I think one of the areas, and we know that you set a priority for working with MDOT and figuring out what that work is going to be. One of the concerns I've had is kind of what are we going to tell them, right? How do you know kind of where we're at and kind of what your sentiment is that you want to share with them so that they know, go back here. So that they, you know, you're talking from a place where you're comfortable saying, this is what we want, right? And you got to be able to articulate what you want to be able to help guide the change, because if you're in all different directions, that won't be effective. And we don't want to do that. So I think which we'll talk about in a minute. So let's stay in the survey for just a minute. So we had a coaster piece that you can hand out to people, or you can, we could hand out in restaurants, or you can do other things. It's just on thicker cardstock. So that's one option. We also have a poster, and you talked about placing the posters in a variety of different locations. There was because of the Corridor Improvement Authority requirements, we had to post in a number of locations along the corridor as part of creation of the authority. So we're thinking we go back to that list and add any other locations that you think would be available, or just hand them out and people can post them as you see fit. Is there anything that you'd want to change on the posters or coasters that we'd want to carry out?
You go back to the picture of the coaster just for a second.
And the really only reason we use kind of that salmon color is because it's in that was the color that we used for the district. So when the map was made and it shows the development area, that was kind of the color, but it doesn't have to be that color if you want a different color too. We were trying to match Brian's tie. That's really what we were trying to do.
I was just wondering, does the township have branding considerations that we have to stick with?
Not really, yeah.
Okay.
Has the logo, that's about it.
The other like font or style or size like colors.
Yeah.
I don't think so anyway, do we?
I mean, we've got specific colors that we use on the logo, but.
Right.
But that's, I mean,
Yeah.
not the, I think maybe using the I am Delta also in there for branding purposes, it gives a sense of ownership.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
Hmm.
On that, maybe a good thing also.
Yeah, we could do that. Okay. Any changes to the coasters or is that good?
I'm good with both of them.
Okay.
This is unique to me. Not unique to me, but the reason I'm thinking about it is unique to me. It might be good to give someone like me the option of a digital format. So we have TV screens that talk about upcoming events and things, and that you can mix that in and somebody can do what we did, you know, they could pop it up. Kind of almost bring it more attention.
Yeah, what about the other restaurants that use those, you know, those things that sit on your table where you can order?
Yeah, the tablets,
Yeah,
so if they had a
tablets.
digital, they could
Yeah,
integrate
use
that.
something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know how many people use them, I just.
I'm not sure either.
I think for it to really be effective, you'd have to get the buy-in from the restaurants to really push the wait staff, like to point out the coasters and to point out the, you know, if you have it on the pad on the table and stuff. Otherwise, I think people are gonna pretty much ignore the coaster.
99% of the restaurants have pre-shift meetings with their teams. So this would, you know, my experience, this would be a topic in our pre-shift meeting. Hey, we're hoping this, do this, bring it to your point. I'm agreeing with you. But you would definitely get feedback. I don't know if you're going to capture like IP addresses, because you may get a loud minority who fill it out 100 times. You know, one person who feels strongly about their beliefs.
We've had, so we have had this debate before. I've dealt with this before. We find usually people don't abuse it too badly, or the responses that they get by the time they get towards the end, they're using the same words that they already used in the survey they already took.
Yeah, you kind of.
So you're like, yeah, it's the same person.
Yeah.
If you require the IP, you can screen it for IP addresses and then bounce out if you're trying to take it again. The problem is sometimes if people haven't completed the survey and they want to go back in to finish it, that they can't, it won't let them get back into the
Right.
survey because you've already done it once and then you're locked out. So we've kind of opted towards not doing the IP, but we have had that conversation and dealt with that, which is how I know this. You can though, using data analytics, you can kind of track the IP addresses. And like, for example, if we have a community event, like if we just had all of you do the survey, like we could say, well, everybody was here when they took the survey. There are some things we can do in that regard. I'm not a specialist in that, but we're working with a company right now that does do that. And so we are using it for community engagement methods to identify who we're not hearing from. So it's kind of a reverse, but it's like, oh yeah, we heard from this neighborhood. We've heard from them there. We can tell from their data, but we're not hearing from this neighborhood. And then we've deployed people to go into the neighborhood to get their input where we haven't had full participation. So it's that's a whole kind of like next level. I don't know if you wanted to go that far, but if there was interest, I could ask for a proposal or find out what would it take to do that. Okay, and then we do have the IM Delta on the with the flags that are on there. I did have so Sarah laid it out and she had the trees with the light pole in the far right corner above the people with feet, and it looked like the light poles had feet. So we switched that around. So, okay. So at the bottom, it says join the Delta Township Saginaw Highway Corridor Improvement Authority and planning for the future. Please help us by filling out a survey to identify what you like, don't like, and areas of concern. We will use this information to help prioritize our next steps. So it's not overly committed to like what we're gonna do, but it gives you, I think, kind of hopefully lets them know how we're gonna use the data, at least as a little bit. Okay. So here's some ideas to think about. I didn't know if yard signs, I didn't want to commit to yard signs, Brian. So we have the newsletter that you have, social media for Delta Township. There's free social media, so you as members or the township board or others or trustees, planning commission, encourage people to use their social media to try to promote the survey. Paid social media isn't a whole lot of money, but it does allow you to reach certain demographic groups. So Facebook is usually Gen X and older, I need to say. Instagram, a little younger. So you've got some different ages, and then like Hulu actually is really popular with young males who watch Hulu. I don't know, but that's what the data shows. So it allows you to kind of target different audiences if you wanted to do paid social media. And we can, if there's interest in that, we can come up with a budget for that, and you can decide if you want to do that or not. Promo video for use on social media. I don't know if anybody clicked on this and saw the video. I don't know if it'll work if I click on it. Let's see. Oh, it might. But then how do I get the volume working? Oops, it didn't work. Hold on. Don't know where it went. Doesn't want to work. Well, if you go to the site though, so basically this was kind of the beginning, that's the planning director for Danville. But they had this whole kind of promotion with staff about, I took the survey, how about you? And so they created a little video and they put it on, oh, you guys can't see there. Door screen sharing, hold on, I'll go back. You share.
If you stop sharing your screen and go to a general share, not just that program.
There we go. You don't want to watch X Factor.
Who might?
It could be fun. Or just do it without the sound, but that gets you a feel for. So then we had different people say, I took the survey, how about you? And so that was kind of the promo, and that's super easy to do with, you can record it with the phone and you can do different things. So you could think about how you want to do a promo, get everybody to do it. So that's one alternative. We talked about the coasters, talked about the posters. If there's any other additional locations, we can get you the locations that they were all posted before. I don't know if yard signs are allowed, but sometimes those little ones at corners can get attention. I'm not a big fan, but some people like them. You can also do pop-up events, for example, like Horrocks or things where you have people stationed outside, and you're encouraging people to take the survey and you're kind of educating them about the CIA and your efforts to try to get people's opinions about the Saginaw Highway corridor. There might be other options, but I wanted to kind of give you a brainstorm list and then see if there's any interest in any of those things as we think about how we want to spread the word about the survey.
I have a couple of ideas that may be problematic, not the least of which is from a fiduciary perspective. But it seems like this kind of thing could play well to billboards. They're not very economical, and I personally don't use them, so I don't want to be a hypocrite because I just don't see the cost value relationship. But it's highly visible if we're trying to get people who are driving through. That may be something worth considering, and at least us doing a ROI analysis ourselves, whether we think it's valuable. Pop-up events, I think, can be effective, especially at, if there's events going on for the community. We got the 4th of July coming up here pretty soon. And so maybe thinking about that. Kelvin and I have discussed, and I told him, I'm completely willing to offer the restaurant up for like a coffee clutch, like a once a month. At this time, there's, more than 2 members of the CIA there to help people do that, and I'll just provide free coffee or something and cookies or whatever, because we don't open till 11, so before 11, basically. And this is a scoop for all of you, but I think what we will do to help at the restaurant, and I think we're the only people in mid-Michigan doing this, but I just purchased a machine where I can create a Delta drink as long as it's frothed, and I can put the QR code on top of the drink
Oh,
saying, fill out the survey.
They'll work with QR. Really?
Yeah,
Oh, how cool.
Did you just go think about that? I mean,
it's called Ripples is the machine.
Okay.
But I'll show it to you.
All right.
Oh,
Oh, I
no,
wanna
tomorrow.
see
I'll
that.
show it to you next week. We just got it in yesterday and I started, it allows you to take, like if you're with your new graduate, congratulations, by the way. You could be out having a drink and you could take their picture and send it to the bartender secretly and their picture will come on the drink.
Oh, that's
oh my
cool.
gosh.
That's super exciting. So who owns the billboards around the corridor? Do you know?
You can see it all that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 4 to 6 grand per month. They're running that ad campaign right now.
We need it for a month.
No, but the only hope that you might get sometimes, and probably not, admittedly, this is a long shot, but a lot of times the billboard companies don't have an active renter, and so therefore they leave somebody up who's not paying for it,
Yep.
or they put it on. You might be able to say, look, if you have downtime, we'll pay for the artwork. Will you just put it up when when you don't have anybody else as a service to the township,
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, and I've done that before.
Yeah.
They've got, I'll show you a picture of something else we have them doing too for us with billboards. So I usually work with Outfront, because they're more in locations I've been working, but, I can always make friends at Adams too. Some of them like to do community service. They view it as a community service that
think that's
helps
the way.
them be viewed positively.
Or instead of putting it on a billboard, maybe we should work to get the billboards off the corridor.
I still want my digital sign, be careful.
Good idea.
So I just amended Grand Rapids zoning ordinance for a billboard exchange program that was designed to get rid of billboards in the city. But it allowed them to invest in existing billboards. So some billboards got improved, like from I-beam to a monopoles, and they look better. But the overall number of faces and number of structures have been reduced, so.
But to your point, my wife and I had a marathon trip where we drove 22 hours out of 36 hours to get to my niece's wedding, and there's a fairly significant stretch in Pennsylvania that doesn't allow billboard that is noticeable and attractive.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it makes a difference. Hey, any other suggestions?
I'd just say, from our experience, like in the last year, since we did 2 millages of public education campaigns, really the social media and the paid social media, we do have quite a following on Facebook. I think 11,000 or 12,000 people, 13,000. So that really gets out there. And then maybe the other thing that's not listed here is just a postcard, because those you can do, we can mail the entire township. That's Mary's idea, but you can do that fairly reasonably and have the QR code and hit everybody in the township. A lot of people throw, mail away, but I think it might be a wiser use than like billboards or some other more expensive or yard signs or that type of thing.
I agree too.
Our 50 and older group really responds to the postcards.
Yeah.
We found through the.
They can do it at a better pace.
Yeah.
But that also reminded me if you, and I know probably nearly everybody here knows it, but if you do decide to do social media, one of the things you can do is do geocode social media and literally just track the corridor. So it pushes the social media. You can say you could literally say the
Mhm.
east and west bound lanes of the road, and anybody who's driving down it, it'll push to them.
As of June 30th, they can no longer.
Hopefully
do a
not
volley
let her
drive.
No, she signed that into law.
Yeah,
June 30th.
June 30th, you can't
We better hurry up.
scroll on your phone.
That's a good thing. But Lord, I do it.
Survey.
Well, I don't think it does pay me off.
We have done that before. On that. The guy who does it for us, his goal was they had a brand new casino opening up. His
Yeah.
goal was to beat the casino on social media and get the #1 views. He succeeded.
So from a researcher standpoint, though, does that introduce bias into if you're pushing it out as people are driving on it? If they're
Well,
like Scott was stuck in traffic on his way here. See,
It's like we use it, the way we use it is we don't use it here right now, but the way we have used it is we want to only ping the eastbound traffic when you're headed towards our restaurant, and we want to do it 3 miles down to say, hey, we're 3 miles away if you're feeling hungry. But we only want to do westbound traffic on the other side, and so you pay far less because you can divvy up how many hits you're.
oh, interesting.
And do you capture that if they're thirsty too?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, okay.
Rumor is that we have some beer.
Awesome.
I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to capture instead, and I don't know if we still have it or not, Delta Rocks. And there's a fireworks event that.
Definitely have the fireworks event, and we have a series of events throughout the summers. You know, you have concerts, you have movies at any one of those events. You could take 2 seconds to, talk about it and ask people to take out their phones and take the survey.
Yep, absolutely. That's something you already have in place, so it's just a matter of surveying those folks that have taken the time to come
Right.
be a part of it.
They're engaged already.
Any other ideas? They're all great.
So we were talking about what do corridor plans look like, and I put these slides in here just to mention that as we think about this, so we have the process and we have the final product, but the final product, depending on what you have in mind, can give you different expectations. And so just putting this out there for right now, just to kind of get you starting to think and be more aware if you come across documents, kind of what you would expect to see for a plan, as we're asking for that input, because both the input that we can drive can direct the kind of product that you get, as well as kind of point to the level of effort we need to spend on different things. So there's some like this one on Warden, Kentucky. It's very visual with illustrations and maps. So there's links that'll go out to all of you with these examples. So there's one, it's shorter, but there's lots of pictures about this is what it could look like. There's also more technical in nature with lots of data, more kind of environmental impact statement like a little bit. But it's more technical in nature, but the benefit to that is that you're speaking more of MDOT's language. So you can say, this is exactly what we're looking for, and you can be a little bit more precise. You can do a hybrid of these two, but that's something to think about. Or also focusing on not just what's in the street, but what's on the context that you're creating and the redevelopment of those areas and how those work together. And so Raleigh Planning Department put together an example that I think kind of has that bent to it too, as far as districts that they identified along the corridor, and then how those areas could change. Are there any other examples, especially Tony and Rachel, that you can think of that as we just start to think about what you would want, like as a final product to help guide decisions? There's anything that comes to mind. There's so many different kinds out there, but
Right. I would be. So the planner, we would want the technical version, right, for funsies, but. From a public input standpoint, like I would want to avoid If we want to be very technical about precise things, want to discuss the MDOT, like I think that'd be a really good idea. I think it should be very visually based because of what we need to be doing in terms of garnering buy-in from the public and especially businesses, or if there's a vision of trying to integrate. We go down the road of like mixed use or housing, like I just think the visual component is gonna be a lot more impactful for the kind of conversations we need to have as a whole versus the technical side.
Something to think about would be, when you get into these type of conversations, what's the purpose
Yep.
coming out of there? And then you can go right into what's the need, right? So just simple, so simple as that.
So what do you think the purpose would be?
It sort of sets the baseline. Well, I think that's something that you can almost have a little bit of a charrette over, or, maybe that's what we can do here is have a little workshop around those items. I think we can come up with
My
something
hunch
pretty
is that
quick.
you got a
but-
pretty good idea of the vision with those words, which is part of why I
Yep.
like it, right? But it does require more context, and I agree with
Mhm.
both you.
I
Both
mean,
you said.
weigh in as a planner. I think the visuals are important, but this is actually gonna be, I think, a some area plan for the master. So that's how I think. So I think
It's good.
the plan right now doesn't do a very good job yet. But it breaks the corridor down into segments, as finds each segment in terms of what's characteristics are for the future, and so the category redevelopment plans for something. If it fits nicely with the money laid out down there. Like I said, I don't think it does a very good job now. That was one of the criticisms planning commission had when they reviewed the draft. This can certainly solve that problem.
That'd be good.
Okay.
I was gonna ask, I know when MDOT was in here, we asked them to provide, Carrie and Greg to provide some examples. Did they ever provide anything for us to take a look at? I thought they were gonna have. What's that?
I'll have to look back.
Yeah, I know it was about a year now, right? They were in here. Just curious. I mean, I don't know if you got something in mind or example in mind. I mean, I can pull examples, just plans or, concepts, just anything. And I know Suzanne, you got a Rolodex of stuff too, but
Yeah,
Of
I've
like
got
this-
stuff too.
Of this,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, just
we have
more specific, like from MDOT themselves or?
well, there was two questions. MDOT was gonna provide us some
Right.
examples. And then what I'm saying is, between several of us here, we have, I'm sure we got some examples as well.
Sure.
What does this piece, it sounds like it gets used for a lot of things once you have it. Because I think there's,
Right, that's.
I mean, your
it will.
point is a great one,
Mhm.
but I'm thinking more along the lines of, constituent buy-in, and then I think pictures and end use, and it sounds like it might get used for all those things, so.
Gary, wouldn't it be for policy? I mean, is that what you're
Yeah, well,
talking about,
that's-
setting the policy, right?
The comprehensive plan, the master plan is, it's the township's vision for the entire,
Yeah,
and it's a policy document, recommendations for what you want to see where. It's not regulatory at all. We derive our regulations based on what the land use recommendations are in the plans. You can see mixed use along the corridor. We draft mixed use regulations in the zoning ordinance that developers can rely on to do their projects. We already have some of that for a portion corridor defined in the zoning ordinance, in the segment of corridor between Clearly Road and Elmwood, we have some special regulations.
Mhm.
Mixed use possibilities for that segment. And they broaden it further.
I think a good thing to think about maybe too is to try and like fulfill both needs is you can have a very technical based plan, but you can have an executive summary that's gonna be colorful and beautiful. It's gonna be up there for
That's
the
good idea.
public, and like that might be a better way to like merge those two ideas together.
Yep.
So, yep, that's a very good idea.
Depending on your level for implementation too, so it can drive capital improvements plan. And what investments the township might be making, but also as the CIA, what investments you might want to make. So it can be, help for financial planning, just kind of giving you the project list and priorities. As well as the policy and directing zoning, as well as.
It's just a cross-reference on several.
Yep.
Right.
Motorized transportation plan.
Yep.
Comprehensive plan, so all those elements are included, so it'll be cross. Other documents that other committees are looking at to prioritize those projects.
That makes sense.
Okay. I just wanted to introduce this so we can start to think about kind of which shape you want to think about it. So nothing, it just gives you some time. This is an example of how my billboard friends have given me billboards before. Partly to pop up, partly this was at a community event in East Grand Rapids. Where we were trying to figure out, this was at the end, kind of middle end of COVID, and wanted to encourage social distancing, but we're outside, and the exciting thing about this was that it was huge and it got people's attention. So there's different levels of engagement. We talked about the pop-ups when we're doing the survey. You've already had the listening sessions that you did all last year. Charette was already mentioned. So there is a whole range of things in toolkits that we can think about. And I think depending on the responses you get from the survey, that will also help determine. But I think one of the goals we have right now with both the survey and then the direction that you want to take as a board is kind of defining what it is you want to see in the corridor, right? So I started off today by saying that because if we're going to have those conversations with MDOT, we want to be really clear on what it is, and we don't want to have any conflicting messages out there. We want it to be like crystal, and then repeatedly messaging that, and having everybody else repeat the same thing, because then you start to get energy and power behind it, which encourages MDOT to work with you to get the kind of design that really meets your priorities. And which leads me to guiding principles, and I just wanted to bring that up. I know you have the finance update on your agenda, but for guiding principles, I think it's important as a group, you have kind of your bylaws that were created, but are there some guiding principles that you as a group want to adopt as we think about this, or do you want to see what the survey results are back first to help you kind of determine what the guiding principles are? But guiding principles act as guidelines that drive behavior or the mindset when you're thinking strategically and operationally, that will lead to success. It can help you to determine what your measures of success will be. And so you're thinking about kind of what are those things that you're going to constantly remain focused on, regardless whether or not you have leadership changes or somebody goes off the board and you have a new board member. That's really core to the CIA board and your operations, that those things are really, really important. And so I think that would be something else that would help kind of crystallize what your expectations are and what you're really driving towards. So we don't have to do, I think it's probably an exercise for maybe the next meeting. But this is just this is an example from a city. But for example, this one, they were looking at well-maintained streets contributing to the economic vitality and sustainability of the community, partnerships and leveraging, interconnected multimodal, efficiently moving goods and people, the idea of placemaking, walkability, green and accessible, managing the asset. So asset management was a key part of the work that this group was doing. And then also kind of new technology, new ways of doing things, new practices as they emerge. So that was kind of their guiding principle. So everything for recommendations and the work that they did flowed through those guiding principles to kind of, that was your constant touch point as you're going through.
That was your mission statement, your vision, your purpose and need statements type. And
Yep.
that's good. Yeah, we probably can take something like that and refine it for what we're looking.
Yeah. Do you like this one as a starting point? I don't know. I mean, we could figure that out. I think so the survey you just took, I think could really start to, is the
Mhm.
seeds of this, right?
Agreed, that's, yes.
Absolutely.
I'd be hesitant to commit to it until we get further along with the survey responses.
You'd want to see more of the survey
Yeah,
responses. to
but I
help the
think,
group.
but I think it's good to start this conversation now, so.
Yeah, well, so what I really liked was that you guys took the survey first, so we know where your sentiment generally is, right, before. So now I've got all this information from you about where you're at, and then we'll also get the community's input as well. So we can have it in two different batches too, based on this. So I think that'll be good to kind of test it, but I think it's important that we start to head this way, because then again, that will help drive your decision making. And then, down the line, if you have an investment request, you can say, well, does it do any of these things? Or how many of these things does it do for us that really we're comfortable with and we feel like we're being good stewards of these resources? Okay, so that's where we'll take what you had, we'll set it aside and preserve that so that when we have the community input, we can put that alongside it. And then Peter and Brian, is there anything else kind of related to any of these things that?
Not so much on the survey right
Okay.
now. I mean, I was kind of saying what Rachel's gonna say. So the survey is gonna kind of help you organize and prioritize. And then we can get into some of the values, establishing some of the values and things for the corridor, which will in turn feed, like Gary mentioned, whether it's whatever plan, however this plan manifests, whatever document label that has on it. And it'll turn into potentially real policy down the road.
Mhm. Good.
Okay, so we're good with the survey and you're good with the timeline, so
Mhm.
am I getting the green light to roll on this as soon as we can? Okay,
2 thumbs up.
cool.
Yep,
Two thumbs.
Yeah.
2 thumbs.
Two
all right.
thumbs. Yeah,
Nancy.
that's good.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the next item of business.
There's a so there's a report from our finance director Nichols in the packet. And it just, I'll give Courtney a chance to talk about it if she wants to, but it's a history of the spending that's happened so far. So really to date, the township has been paying these bills. So this is a listing of everything that's been paid so far. You have budgeted $50,000. So this memo is asking to approve that payment, then to approve the reimbursement for some 2023 expenses. Am I organizing that right?
Yeah, and then, because I haven't switched to paying things from your fund yet, and then moving forward, we would just take the mostly progressive bills out and then just let you know, as opposed to waiting until your meeting and then paying. That's really just the one thing you're not.
Sure.
So really what we're just looking for here is a motion to approve the payments.
So moved. Second.
And then from the future, you'll get the updates on how you're spending your money.
I was, yeah.
It's all really housekeeping stuff so far.
So all those in favor, say aye.
Oh, I, sorry, yes, thank you.
Approved then. You can
Okay.
pay our bills.
You can pay our bill.
Good board.
Okay, then I had just a series of staff updates to go over if that works. So, so the most recent tenant changes thing is in here. This is a document that I'm doing. I mean, keep in mind, I'm new kind of still. It's June. I'm gonna keep saying that for a year. But get my mind around the projects that are happening here. So I'm trying to document that as I go. What's missing on this that I didn't get on here was there is a store in the mall that closed. It was appliances for less. They sold appliances for less. Some of them were damaged, but they're no longer in the mall.
Should have sold them for more.
Yeah. That was, they had it backwards. So we'll continue to document this stuff. I know Supervisor Fletcher had asked about timelines. Sometimes there aren't timelines with this. So a lot of these things, we want to get them moving as quickly as possible, but there's not always timelines. I would highlight specifically the recent new openings. So last week Baskin Robbins opened. Keep an eye on the township social media channel or Facebook specifically to see images for those kind of events. But I thought that went really well. The guy that opened the Baskin Robbins, you learn about people in this process, is a judge, like an administrative law judge with Social Security Administration.
Wow.
Former military guy, been around. He and his wife live in Williamston. This is their third location here. So get over there and check it out. It was really busy the afternoon. So we did a grand opening like 10 or 11, and then Mary and I went back in the afternoon. It was busy.
Nice.
That for ice cream.
That's good.
We'll go back again.
My first job was at a Baskin Robbins.
And then part of our team did a tour at the Farm Bureau Insurance Building, and I'm gonna continue to throw stuff like that out to the group
That's
for
great,
anything.
thank you.
If you can make it, you can make it. If you can't, you can't. Holy cow, that building's insane. It's really cool. $50 million total project. I mean, it's the Shangri-La of office workers.
Yeah.
If you ever desire to be in that world, I mean, I find myself in that world. It's just incredible. It's state of the art, innovative. I mean, everything about they're all geared towards kind of having these places where you can work quietly, but then at a whim, like these breakout rooms that you can just kind of go to with a colleague and work on stuff. It was just incredible. And they have their own credit union in the building. They have cafeteria. It's everything you've ever dreamed of. So that was really cool.
The township offices in there.
Yeah. And then Olive Garden opened today
All right.
at 11. So I went by just to, I had to see. Yeah, they had a line out the door at 10:40, waiting for people to get in for that first run. Yeah. So, and it's gonna be, I'm sure it's gonna be, I can imagine what this weekend's gonna be like,
Yeah.
but. So, they were not open or interested in doing a grand opening. It's too chaotic for them on day one. And he said, for some of the stores that don't get the presence and the market that we do, we consider it, but for this one, they knew it was gonna go nuts and.
How many months has everyone been asking about it?
Right. Having a bunch of township people with scissors and ribbon around just didn't help them, so we always ask, but they chose not to do it, so. And soon they're gonna be pretty busy for the next while. The big things that are coming up in terms of openings, the Freetail store in the mall, if you've ever heard that story. I'm not gonna be able to tell it as well as the owners will, but it's a store in the mall that had a very small footprint, and they work on connecting people with services, but also help with, like, they give away diapers. A lot of, like, 10,000 diapers. And they're moving from a very small store in the mall to like a 6,000 square foot former Victoria's Secret space. And really kind of tripling down on that being their base of operations. And just like, for example, the one time I was there spending time with the owner, a woman that had spent the night outside came in to talk to her. So they kind of ended up playing this referral role for services in the area. So we'll learn more about that, but they're gonna do a grand opening in July. I'll give you more information on that. And then the Walmart's doing like a $1.5 million renovation of their store. And they're gonna be doing something in July. If you haven't been to a corporate Walmart event, just for the scene, I invite you to come out. They have a whole culture that they do stuff, cheers and slogans. They have somebody that sings the national anthem. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
So I'll send out, when I get more information on that, I'll send it out. And if you're curious and available, come on down. Okay, we talked about that.
When is the Meyer store gonna be?
Myers.
I don't have info on when Meyer is gonna be done yet. Yeah, I think they still have quite a bit of work to do.
Yeah, and now Walmart's gonna do it too, so it's like. Chaos. I
And
know.
one of the challenges of putting, sometimes they'll tell us a timeline, but I feel like every time we put it out, we get bit by it because we're not in control of their projects, so. I know that one has a ways to go yet, but especially nowadays, all these projects are hindered a little bit by supplies and that type of thing, so.
Supply chain, yeah, you got that right.
So at the last meeting, I should have led with this, but tried to reach out to MDOT. I haven't heard anything back from them yet about meeting. We initially invited them to this meeting. I don't know if that scared them or not. But I'm gonna try to get something going, whether it's Brian and I can meet with them and then hopefully bring them back to this group. But that's, stay tuned to that. I'm gonna keep trying to get my foot in the door at MDOT.
Who you been engaging with?
The director,
Or
Aaron,
Oh, Aaron, okay,
Yeah.
Shalati, okay.
so hopefully we'll make that connection here soon. We are doing some research on RDA liquor licenses, so in addition to the quota licenses that are available to communities, having a corridor improvement authority allows communities to seek out what they call RDA or redevelopment liquor licenses. It's a license that goes, it's a Class C license that goes beyond the quota. So it's something that's the potential here. Obviously, that's a policy decision that the board would need to make if they wanted to actually issue these things. But I do think we just had preliminary numbers run today, like $84 million in investment in the last 5 years on the corridor. And the threshold for a license is $200,000 in the total in the entire district, plus 75,000 for a business. So if those two things are true, then a liquor license could be issued. So by my math, it was like 420 liquor licenses. So that's plenty. But so we'll have to talk about, I'm planning on going to the township board to tell them, first of all, tell them about it, how they work. And then I'm sure we'll come back to this group and to that group about some policy changes to potentially allow those.
That development licenses also tied to the specific address.
They are, so
as
yeah.
opposed to the-
Yeah, so they're $20,000 plus you have to have that investment, the rehabilitation or new construction investment. And then this specific license is tied to the business. So if the business goes out of business, the license goes away. So it's not the commodity, it doesn't operate in the same commodity market like a liquor license from the state would. Well, it's also from the state. No, they're
Also, landlords
full
love
on.
to use them to leverage their tenants.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you own a restaurant, you're leasing the space, they got a development license. Now you're like, well, I want to negotiate a new lease. They're like, go ahead, you can leave, but you don't have a liquor license.
So I'll put a whole thing together and we can
Yeah.
get into the nuts and bolts of that. Just wanted to give you just kind of an overview of what's we're working on. And then the membership update. So I heard a question about this before we started, but at the June 5th board meeting, Scott was reappointed to a new 4-year term. So he'll be with the group until 2027. And then Bill Dubois was appointed for a partial term. He's filling the term that Chris Christofsky was
Oh my
in.
gosh, Bill Dubois.
Yeah, he's from Carrabba's, general manager for Carrabba's.
He's running us. He's great.
He is great. I've known him. Bill and I worked together. DJ Fridays in like the late 90s.
Oh my gosh. Much fun.
Barely paid.
He's good people.
He is. He's been in the industry for years, so it's
Yeah.
been very perspective.
Yeah, he was a catering manager over at Crown Plaza for
Yeah.
a long time.
Mm.
So that's where we kind of met him.
And he's the GM at Carrabba's.
Right now,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. During COVID, when they basically shut down most of the services at Crown Plaza, he had to make a decision on what he was gonna do because they basically cut his hours down.
So that's all the updates I've got, unless anyone has any questions about what's going on. Just want to get an overview of kind of what the staff's up to in the background.
So and Bill's gonna start then at our next meeting.
Next meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. His term will start.
And then we won't see Brian again because he resigned and then his term is up. So we'll see him in life, but just not at these meetings.
Mm.
Okay. So is that space open then at this point?
Correct. And
Okay.
they're working to fill it, because he let us know right at the last
Yeah.
minute he didn't wish to continue, so we're working on.
So we'll try to get another business owner to.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, our next meeting is July 10th. Will we have a quorum? It's week of the holiday, you know, some people go away.
I should
Right
be here.
now, you should work. You know something, I will not be here.
You won't.
I'll be in California for a meeting.
It's the week after the 4th of July, week,
Mhm.
The week after, okay,
Mhm.
so Tony's.
but it's the Monday.
Yeah.
Okay, so no Tony at next meeting.
I plan to be here.
I should be here as far as I know. It's fine.
All right.
I'll send a reminder out and yeah, thank you for replying to those. It's more of a reply if you won't make it kind of emails, but just so we can keep track of that.
Okay. All right, we don't have a closed session, correct? So.
Correct.
Motion to adjourn.
Sport.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
What time is it?
5:20.
5:20.
5:20 p.m. All right,
Thank you.
it's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. And
What's that?
have to coordinate.